Okay, here's the review all of you guys have been waiting for. Porter Robinson's Worlds. No, I'm just kidding. I'm going to review the remix album following Porter Robinson's debut album, Worlds, which I've hyped way too much. I've completely overhyped it to the point where it might not even be my favorite album anymore. I've listened to it so freaking much. I saw him live this summer. He is really good live, so make sure to check that out. I was actually thinking about doing a live concert review and album review. It featured as my #1 album of last year, and he's a little bit of a weird figure, and he's got beautiful hair, but like I said, Worlds was one of the best. Still is up there for me on favorite albums. Absolutely blew me away, probably the first 20 freaking listens of the album, especially with tracks like Fellow Feeling and Sea of Voices. Overall, just an extremely diverse and fantastic record. So when he announced that he was coming out with a remix album, which I actually had predicted probably a couple of months before when I had seen him, I said that Porter Robinson's going to release a remix album, it's bound to happen. And it did. There's no CD copies as of now, but the digital version is available on iTunes. And this album does make a pretty good listen, even if you're not going to want to listen to this as a concept album, because it's not. And on this, you're going to hear the artistic talents of about 13 different producers, including Porter himself, maybe 14, somewhere around there, because there's a couple duos that feature on this album as well. And on this one, there's basically an all-star lineup of remixers, which I was really hyped for. You feature Holo, you feature ODESZA, Matt Zo, Dion Custom, Galimatias, SLUMBERJACK, and Chrome Sparks. You're going to hear all these names that you've probably been hearing a lot lately in this kind of scene, future bass, if you're really into that. You're going to know all the names on this record. And the ones that I was most hyped for is there's actually two Monster Cat remixers on this one. There's Holo and Dion Custom. They both released collectively probably like 5 tracks, maybe 6 together with Monster Cat, which made me really hyped for this record. And although these ones aren't actually my favorites on the album, this album does make a very good listen, especially if you're just buying these tracks to use in live sets or something. These are going to make very cool live tools, especially if you're a DJ of future bass, trap, genres like that. We kick off the album with the very interesting ODESZA remix of Divinity, and this one definitely took a unique spin on the track. Kind of takes I wouldn't really call it trap, but maybe an experimental kind of sound, maybe kind of blending a little bit of that trap sound. It just makes for a very unique twist of the style. We get off with the kind of generic future bass remix of Sad Machine, which I really did enjoy. I think Porter played it when I saw him live, and that absolutely went off. Really enjoyable as a live track, like I said. Although that's what some of these are, just fairly generic future bass. It is one of the building genres right now, and although I've heard a lot from it, especially in the Monster Cat scene, it might be very refreshing to some listeners to hear tracks like this. We get the extremely generic kind of hard-style dance track, the remix of Years of War by Mayth, and like I said, just very pretty generic hard style. Not really into that style. Kind of hated the remix, so there we go. There's the incredible remix of Flicker, which kind of takes on a little bit more of a drum step kind of sound, just super energetic and a very unique twist on the original track of Flicker. A couple other highlights on this one are Sleepy Tom's remix of Polygon Dust with La Metra, which kind of takes on a little bit more of a deep house sound, which I was pretty into. Didn't really love the Point remix of Lionhearted. I think Porter was trying too hard to find an artist who could actually remix Lionhearted to kind of fit in with the concept of this remix album. But a lot of the remixes on the package that came out last year for Lionhearted were actually better, I think, than this one, by far, especially the Artie remix. And we get to one of my favorites on the record, Galimatias' remix of Sea of Voices, and although I really wanted to see Ninth Parallel's mix of Sea of Voices make this record, I completely understand why this one was featured instead. Kind of takes on that kind of future bass sound. Someone compared it to Flume sound, which I agree to an extent, but not completely. This one's just super, the sound design on it is very deep, and you're going to hear a little bit more of the whomp kind of sound, and just completely transforms it. Actually kind of makes Brian Duran sound like Matthew Koma with a translation of the vocals. And finally, the last one I really want to go deep into is SLUMBERJACK's remix of Fellow Feeling. And I did love the original of this. It was very cool, artistic kind of sound. But this one takes it to a completely different level. And although I'm not the biggest fan of SLUMBERJACK, this one was absolutely not a disappointment. One of my favorites for sure on the record. Takes a little bit more of an experimental trap sound and doesn't ruin the beauty of the original, but bangs completely. And I just love that about this track. To an extent, I almost like it as much as the original, although I do like the original more because of its artistic statement in the EDM scene. I think this one definitely showed up that off well, too, and made for a really cool remix. The album closes off with Chrome Sparks' remix of Goodbye to a World, which I was actually really excited to hear, but it didn't bring much difference from the original, as in, like, the styles and everything used to make this remix didn't really provide that much of a unique twist for the record. So anyway, this one's pretty enjoyable. Like I said, you're going to probably enjoy it more if you listen to the remixes separately. Don't try to get through this as a concept album, because it's not a concept album like Worlds was, and that's part of why I'm going to give it a slightly lower rating. But a lot of these remixes are very packed. I really dig the Son Holo remix, Galimatias, SLUMBERJACK, ODESZA. You're going to hear this all-star lineup, and it's going to end up sounding maybe not as good as I expected, but it's going to be really solid. So I'm going to give this one a solid 8. What do you guys think about the album? Let me know in the description below. If you haven't listened to it yet, go do it now. Make sure to check out those remixes that I've highlighted. And if you guys didn't know, I actually write my favorite tracks in the description, so even if you don't listen to anything I say over this entire review, you can just check down there, and that'll tell you the rating that I give it. It'll tell you my favorite tracks and my least favorite tracks, what to avoid. And you might have a different opinion on it, but I think as a general electronic music listener, the opinions are going to be kind of the same throughout. So anyway, hope you guys enjoyed this review, and I'll see you later. Peace.